Hello, Fallen Dragon Knight here again. Going back to the Siege line today with a review of Galaxy Upgrade Optimus Prime. A kind of remake of the Optimus Prime from Cyberverse slash Galaxy Force, depending on which version you're familiar with. I know they're the same toys, it's just that they're called differently in different parts of the world. Now then, disclaimer, I got this as an open box sale on eBay. The box was still partially intact. It was a little damaged. It was opened. And it's missing two pieces. The two black cannons on either side, which are also on the Ultra Magnus. But here, it's not really necessary for the review because I see a lot of people who show this off and display it and they do not have them on. And those who do usually go for a upgrade kit that has a more Cyberverse accurate version of the guns. But let's just get on with reviewing this guy. And as you can see, he rolls fairly nicely, despite the fact that you could probably tell this is supposed to be his feet in his super mode. And yeah, these are slanted slightly. I'll get into that a little later when we actually talk about the super robot mode. You see, got a nice front cabs, a little stubby here and there. You got these cannons. They're supposed to be ladders, but they look like cannons regardless of which version this was. Another thing is this sculpted detail right here. These are technically supposed to be wheels like they were in the original toy, but they're not painted in. They're just red sculpted detail. You could probably tell when I turn it over that they are painted on the other side, but it makes me wonder why they aren't painted on this side when they're supposed to look like wheels. Of course, we have gaps here. That really can't be helped. Got some nice painted detail over here on the side with some silver. The rims, of course, are silver. Really nice. And of course, we got the, let me get that on camera, scuffing here, which is indicative of all Siege figures. Not a whole lot of scuffing, but there is a bit of scuffing. Of course, we can separate him from the cab. There's a tab here, and it's really hard to get this off. That one's already was a little loose. And then, of course, we got tab here and tabs in there. So we'll put the trailer off to the side for now. And here we have him in his cab mode, and his hands are exposed. There's no real way to transform this at all to hide those hands, sadly. You just gotta turn them around and hope for the best. You have to really display him in with the trailer because cab mode doesn't really hide those at all. Not very disappointing, but it is a bit, you can see there's also painted silver rims on these wheels too, which also roll really nicely as well. Bit of a gap here though. There is an add-on kit to fix that, but enough about that. Let's get him into robot mode, where we have to unpeg this part here and unpeg the thighs because there's a tab right there in the torso. You can already hear the nice ratchets. Now then, the instructions do say, oh, hang on, trying to do this on camera is kind of hard when I'm doing this at an angle. You're supposed to remove these, but I'd prefer not to for a specific reason, because you're also supposed to do this, which is similar to the Ultra Magnus transformation, where you can raise this all the way up. Then you gotta push the torso in like so. Then pull this piece out, pull this down, flip out the head, rotate his crotch piece, and clip it into place. You don't really have to flip it around or anything. It's more for aesthetic reasons, but I prefer this for the standard robot mode. Rotate the fist to make sure that this tabs into place like so. And then flip out the heel spurs. And there we have Optimus Prime for the Galaxy Upgrade mode. And kind of reminds me of the Energon Optimus Prime, how bulky and fat his body is. Yeah. Sorry, TJ. We got a brand new Optimus Prime. You see, that rear wheel section is now just his backpack. And if we were to detach them like they said in the instructions, not really that great. Of course, if you want to, you can just plug these in early. We're going to have to do this anyway for the combined mode. Let me see. I'm trying to remember which side they go in. Yeah. And of course, if you want to make him look more like the Cyberverse version, I'm going to have to partially take this apart. So, easiest way I do that is just go like this, then pull these apart, and you see little armor sections in here, which are kind of supposed to be the front of his cab in the original Cyberverse version. I mean, Cybertron, not Cyberverse. Sorry, we got two series with the same name, so... I mean, similar name, so yeah. Yeah. So if you want the Cybertron version, you just add the shoulder pads and the gauntlets on early. So, shoulder is universal. Even without this guard, it would only go about that far. Swivel, 9-degree bend of knee. We already have the wrist articulation. Ball-jointed head. This is impressive. We got a waist joint, despite the fact we have this rail system on its back. So they were able to add that level of transformation and still have the waist joint. We got ratcheting thighs with rotation, 9-degree bend of knee, and a tilting foot. Yeah. Of course, he's supposed to be like this, looking more like the somewhat like G1 Optimus Prime. And of course, where are his weapons? Well, as I said, two are missing, but there is one. And this was also a feature in the original Cybertron version. We just unplug that. And we just plug that in his hand as his gun. Yeah. Again, that's what the original Cybertron version did. And the original Cybertron version didn't have any extra weapons. So we're just going to put that back for now. Now then, as for Siege compatibility, because all Siege figures need ports, we have port here, port up here in the shoulder, although these are more for the armor mode. We got ports here in the foot. We got somewhat ports over here. And of course, if these are plugged in, there's a port right there. That's about it. Oh, and there's one port right there. I wouldn't try to fit too much onto him, especially in this form. But enough about that. Let's get on to this section here. And we just fold this out and untab this section. And you may notice, if you've had this thing folds out a lot easier than it's supposed to be. Yeah, there was a little clip tab here that would not separate properly at all. It would just lock so hard in place, it would have to use a lot of force just to get it out, and it would just bend and warp that piece. So eventually I just clipped that piece right off, and it still clicks in very solid and secure like. It didn't really need that extra hook on the end. Of course, you can already see the combined mode head, which we have to turn around like so. Lift that up. This section here folds down, accordions that. Now then, we have to pull this down again. You have to pull the torso over slightly in order to do that. Pull out the crotch piece, untab the arms, and pull this down. Flip the head back into the torso. Tab the arms back in. Clip that back into place. Flip the crotch piece back over. I believe it's because of Ultra Magnus. It has to be flat to fit the Ultra Magnus armor, because this is just a resculpt of the Ultra Magnus build. Of course, we also had to fold in the heel spurs. And now we're ready for the combination, so we just put these pieces we took off previously back on, like so. Come on. Like so. And, okay, this was underneath it. So, we'll get the legs on. They just slide into place. Oh wait, I have it on the wrong side. Slide onto place like so. Fold out the larger heel spur for better stability. And then we take this piece. We have this clip here for the rail on the back. Just clips on like so. Come on, get in there. Isn't it always the way when you try to do this on camera? It's just a lot harder. Okay, so we're in. There's 2 tabs right there, 2 slots there. So we just fold that down, clip it in place, and then we just orient his wings and cannons like so. Oh wait, like so. And there we have the full Galaxy upgrade Optimus Prime in his full glory. Now then, his legs are a little stubby in this mode. That's unfortunately because of how it's built. Again, it's just a Voyager class figure with a bunch of extra pieces. Like I said with the previous 2 Leader class figures I reviewed. In fact, one second here. Here he is with Sky Shadow. Well, the cannon makes him about as tall as Sky Shadow, but for the most part he's not exactly a full-sized leader class. Here he is next to my Bumblebee movie Voyager Prime. The armor does give him a little extra height. And because I have him on hand, let's move him over. Cybertron, Megatron. Yeah, that is definitely not the same scale. And these are both leader class. What a difference almost a decade makes. I believe it was a decade when this came out. Anyway, let's take a look at his articulation. He still has the exact same articulation in the arms, exact same articulation in the legs. They got the foot tilt here, but it's permanently stuck at this angle. There's no way to make this flat, so he has to be spread at all times. And of course, he has a ball-jointed head. Now then, as for his cannons, they just fold out like so. Gotta fiddle with it just a little just to get the proper clearance. And this is something that the original didn't have. As you can see, there's actually a handle on a slider that you can just slide to any position you need, so you can get Prime's fist to fit right on them like so. The original was just held there in friction. So yeah, there he is with his big old cannons. Now then, to be honest, if you really want to get this, I would say if you're kind of a big fan of the Cybertron series, this is at least a decent way to get this figure without trying to hunt down the original. Less shelf space, but not completely accurate. If you already have the Voyager Optimus Prime, he is a different enough where it's not like the same figure. Again, this is a remold of Ultra Magnus. But if you're not really a fan of the Cybertron version of Optimus Prime, then maybe this thing's just not going to tickle your fancy. Again, you can just take this off and put it on his hand, but why would you? Because then you just have this stump on the end, as you can see. Yeah, it doesn't look like a cannon now, does it? I do like the paint apps. It doesn't have a whole lot of the battle damage as some of the other Siege figures do. And it's at least a nice leader class Optimus Prime. Although I'd say if you only want one leader class Optimus Prime from the series, maybe go for the Earthrise because of its complete G1 accuracy and the trailer. But this is a nice, fun Optimus Prime to have in your collection, and I hope to see you guys again next review. Because we have something else we're going to need to do with this guy in a little bit. So, bye!